Welcome to the SmartFlow training webinar. This is an initial boost webinar, and this is where we're going to lay a solid foundation for you to build on moving from the paper world to the digital shop. My name is Bill Connor, and I'll be your trainer for today. Today we'll be using a Live Today's Vehicle page, a tablet, and I'll be taking some polls along the way to make sure you're understanding the training and tracking right along with me. You can also use the chat feature during the webinar to ask questions along the way, and I highly encourage you to do so. If the chat box isn't already open, if you hold down the Alt key and hit the letter H, it will open right up for you. These are some things that you're going to need to get the most out of the training today, and that is to have your Today's Vehicle page open, have your point of sale open, and preferably you've already created the little Mini Cooper test vehicle beforehand, but if not, we'll give you time to create it, and a tablet with your SmartFlow app open, logged into your shop, and assigned to a technician of your choice. So I'll take a pause for just a minute to see if everybody is on the same page, and then we'll continue. So before you leave the training today, we want to make sure that you understand how a repair order gets from your point of sale and ends up on the technician and workflow views. We want to make sure that you know how to perform an inspection. In fact, we'll create a mock inspection with a few topics on it and some pictures and notes before we leave the training today. We want to make sure that you know the words and phrases to inspire your team to actually move forward. So rather than push your employees into doing things, we want to make sure you understand what's in it for each of your employees, and we'll do that in the webinar today. Editing pictures and adding notes to the pictures is the #1 way that we can educate the customer. And if you think about it, the show and tell that we do with our customers at the side of a vehicle with the service advisor and the technician is the #1 way in the paper world that we can get approvals. So what we want to do is recreate that same feeling using the tools we now have in the digital platform, and we want to be able to do it on 100% of the repair orders that come through the shop. We also want to make sure that not only do we want to control the content by having good inspections, notes, pictures, and so on, but we're going to control the timing that the customer receives that very carefully by emailing and texting it to the customer at the appropriate times. How the tech and the service advisor communicate with each other internally in the shop is a very important tool. We're going to do that in the digital world in a way that is documented, but so nobody has to leave the service writer doesn't have to leave the counter, the technician doesn't have to leave the car, and we all got great documentation to work with. All the things we talk about, we also want to be able to put systems in place to measure them so that we can monitor our success along the way. And we'll do that at the end by introducing you to a tool called the Business Control Panel, and that we highly encourage you to get with your digital coach or product advisor to actually begin using it in your shop as soon as possible. So what we want to do right now is to begin by creating this Mini Cooper that you're going to be using for a test as we go forward. I'm going to paste the VIN number in chat so you can just copy it and create a repair order if you already haven't done it. We want to make sure that this repair order has your phone number so that way you can text the inspection results to yourself to see how the customer experience would be. We want to make sure that it has at least one labor line on the inspection and it's not assigned to a technician. We'll actually be dispatching it using the Today's Vehicle page technician view as we go through today. So again, make sure that this is not an estimate or not an appointment. Make sure it's in a work order state, in progress for work in progress, and your point of sale. Once you create the work order, it's going to populate into Autobottles, and this is going to be the test vehicle we'll use to move through the different workflow steps so you can see how things actually operate in a live shop environment. I'm going to pause here and give you about a minute to create the vehicle that we'll be working on. So what we want to do next is we want to talk about the two different views and how to set them up in your browser. And to do that, what we're going to do is click on the three black bars. It's called a hamburger menu. And then we're going to go and add the additional view that we're going to use for technician view. So let's open a live shop. And so I'm going to go ahead and close this page for right now because I want to start from here. So this is the workflow view. This is where you're going to start out in the shop environment. And what you're going to see is a workflow step for all the common things that happen as you go through the shop with a repair order. So today's appointments, waiting for inspection, creating estimate, waiting for approval, parts ordered, waiting for finished, and then waiting for pickup. These are all the common workflow steps that you use. This is where the service writer is going to maintain their day so they can arrange things in the order that they need to satisfy the customer. So in this case, I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and I'm going to drag this Mini Cooper up to the top because that's our #1 priority. But a great way to think about doing this, if I have 8 or 10 tiles laid out on the screen and I have to have one estimated right now so I can get parts ordered before a certain cutoff time, then I can arrange them in order for the service writer to satisfy the customer and or parts needs and so on. The next thing I'm going to do is move over to where the hamburger menu is, which is 3 black bars. I'm going to left click on it, and I'm going to move down to where it says Technician View, and I'm going to left click on it. What that's going to do is open up what we call our Technician View, and this is where we're going to make most of our money in the shop environment. And what this is going to do is have a No Tech column, and then one column for each of the technicians that are actually in your shop. You're going to see a lot of information here. I want to encourage you to hover over it with your mouse and get some feedback information. So here at the top of this column, it says this is the amount of hours that the technician wants to do before the end of the day. This is what he's got approved so far, and so on. So there's a lot of great feedback on here, and if you just hover for a second or two, you'll get some feedback letting you know what it is. So let's move back over to our presentation. So let's identify some of the things that we see on the screen so that we've got the great visual of what's going on. So the first thing we want to do is when we're in Technician View, you're going to know because it's going to have either No Tech or the technician's name on the top of the column. And on the bottom of the tile, what you're going to see is the workflow step it's in. The workflow step is real important because there's certain workflow steps that lock things out from going to the technician's tablet where they start working on it, and that would be creating an estimate or waiting for approval. If it's on your workflow screen, what you're going to see on the bottom edge of the tile is going to be the technician or technicians that the repair orders are assigned to. Next up on here is what we're going to have is what we call a wrench icon, and I'm going to move over to a live shop to give you some of the information that's here in this important area. So let's grab one of the vehicles that are on the screen and go through and see some of the information that's available at your fingertips. So I'm going to click on the wrench icon. I'm going to hover till it turns into hand, left click the mouse, and come into this area. So what you're going to see on there initially is going to be the repair order, and you're going to see all the labor operations that have been pushed over from the management system, along with the associated labor time that's been negotiated between the service writer and the customer. When you click on service history, what you're going to see is the history of all the times it's been in the shop. This vehicle has never been in here before, so there's no history. And you could also see information that was carried forward from prior inspection results. Also in the same area, you're going to see OEM recommendations. So this does not have an indicator base on the dash, so we're going to click time and odometer base, and it's going to open up and show you all the OEM recommendations for this mileage interval. We're not going to go into inspection reports right now because we're going to go into in-depth later. We are going to cover recalls and TSBs. This is going to give the service writer the ability to click off on TSBs and recalls that apply to this vehicle. So open recalls or TSBs that apply to this particular visit. And again, the service writer has the ability to do this. It's going to display in its own area on the bottom of the inspection results, and the technician also has the ability to do the same thing from their tablet. And then we have what we call CRM Next, which is going to let the service writer prepare for the next visit and be able to see inspection results and so on, repurpose so that way we can not only use the inspection results today to tell the customer what's wrong, but if they don't approve it today, we're going to be using them on the next visit. This is also covered on a retention training on Fridays, and we'll be happy to register those with retention up for that training. Next up on our list of things that we identify is the promised day and time. And this nice little yellow triangle lets the service writer know when that time is getting very close or has been exceeded. And we want to make sure that anytime that yellow triangle goes up, the service writer is proactive about making sure the customer's expectations are met. I'm going to switch over to Live Shop and just come in here and click on it one time. So you can see the yellow triangle here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change the date to something more current. So we'll say March 28th and apply, and then you'll see it goes away. So this can be used to actually, the next waypoint that you have to satisfy the customer, you can set that, and anytime that yellow triangle appears, the service writer should be looking to make sure, find out what's going on, and proactively take care of the customer's needs. Next up on the list in the technician view on the center section of the tile, this upper number is going to be the number of hours that have been approved and negotiated between the service writer and the customer. So this is going to be the total for this technician. The number underneath it is the amount of hours that the technician is marked completed or partially completed so far. So a great way to begin working together as a team is anytime this upper number and lower number get close to each other. So in this example, if this upper number was 10 and the technician is marked 9.5 hours completed, we want to make sure that service writer has the next repair order up, ready, parts and available, and so on, so that technician can jump on the next car. Great way to start working together as a team. This little green car icon on here sometimes is red and flashing. If it's red and flashing, that means we couldn't identify everything about the vehicle based on the VIN number. So a service writer could click on this and identify if it's an all-wheel drive or navigation and things like that. But the technician also has the ability to do this on his tablet. There'll be a red bar that says select vehicle information, and the technician is probably in a lot better place to answer that question. Next up is this black circle with the number 1 counted at this particular time. And what this is this is the total number of jobs open on a repair order, regardless of how many technicians it's broken up and assigned to. In this day and time, it's very common to dispatch repair orders based on technician specialty areas. And what you're going to find is this red circle over here is the number of jobs that are open for the technician that this column is for. And again, anytime the technician marks all his jobs done, the tile is going to dim out. It's going to get a big green check mark in the center. And what we want to do is always encourage the service writer to look over here and make sure that there's not a number count here, that there's a green check mark also, so they don't call the customer and let them know their vehicle's done, only to find out that there's another tech who's got some stuff to do. And the worst case is the service writer finds out about it when the customer is standing at the counter waiting to pick their vehicle up. What we also have is these 3 tiles on here with a circle and a plus sign is where we can add special markers. And what I'm going to do is move over to Live Shop to just give you an example of how this works. So in this case, what I'm going to do is just grab any one of these and actually click on any one of these icons and actually configure it. So in this case, I'm going to tap on the first line here, and I'm going to click on this alert, and you can see that there's a message that's been put here that says, do not roll down the driver's side windows. It's going to fall off the track again, and we'll have to put it back on at no charge to the customer. So that's an important thing to know to go ahead and protect the technician from having to do free work. And we also have the ability by filling in a check mark here to actually make this persist across all visits. I'm going to configure another couple markers here. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, that this particular vehicle is, the customer is going to wait on it. I'm going to say that we told him it'd be done in 60 minutes. And I'm going to configure one more on here, and that is going to be, I'm going to choose one that say parts is expected to be delivered in, and configure it, and I'm going to say they're expected to be delivered in 15 minutes, and then apply. And you'll see that it's added these markers here, and they'll also go to the technician on their tablet. Excuse me. So here, On the countdown alerts, they'll start flashing when the time expires. But again, this is going to the technician on their tablet. I'll be putting a link in at the end, or providing you with a link so that you can learn more about special and ultimate markers. You're also going to see right to the left of the customer's name is you're going to see some information here to let you know what type of message was last sent to the customer. And if there's a check mark on it, it's whether the customer has actually acknowledged that information. So if you write a brand new repair order and you see that a message went out to them by text or email and there's no green check mark here, this is a great time for that service writer to have a customer conversation, a drop off, to reinforce to them that we are a digital shop. Please expect the communications to come that way, and you can configure them on your device. So what we want to do next is we want to go to drag and drop a repair order to dispatch it to the technician. And so let's move over to a live shop and actually work on this together. So in the next exercise, what we're going to do is go to your technician view, and we're going to drag and drop the blue steel vehicle that you had to your technician to dispatch it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a pause here and have you fill in a survey and let me know, did the blue steel vehicle actually show up on your today's vehicle page in the no tech column? So let's move on from here. And what I'm going to do on this next area is I'm going to pull up a live vehicle, and I'm going to pull up my tablet so we can see what's going on. And the first thing I want to do is make sure all our tablets are set up the same. And I also want to draw your attention to the header area on the today's vehicle page technician view to show you what's going on. So this particular tablet is assigned to Joe Champion, and you can see at the top of his column that he's actually clocked out. He's not ready, willing, and able to work at this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the lower edge of the tablet, and I'm going to clock him in. And now you're going to see on the top of his column, you can see that it's changed and says no activity. And you'll see this number counting up to let you know how long he's had no activity. What we also want to do right now is click on the settings gear to make sure all our tablets are set up the same. So I'm going to tap it. And what I'd like you to do is go over to where it says audible alert and make sure it's set to at least 10 seconds. And if it's not, what I want you to do is click on this drop down arrow, open it up, and let's make sure that it's turned to at least 10 seconds. Choose it and then tap off to the side. I also want to make sure that you've got a alert tone set. So in this case, I'm going to set mine up for nuclear, but you can choose any one of them on the list. So there'll be one default and 10 other ones. And when you tap the alert that you want, it's going to give you an audible tone so you can hear what it's going to sound like. So I'm going to switch this one back to nuclear. I want you to slide down to the bottom and make sure the tablet is assigned to the technician of your choice. Make sure it's only assigned to one technician. Tap off to the side, and then when you're finished, hit the back button. I'd also like you at the top of your tablet to adjust the volume to make sure that your audible alerts are set so that we can actually make sure that you get the alert what a technician would get when something's dispatched to him. So what we want to do next is we actually want to dispatch a repair order to this technician to work on. It's the technician's job to always work on things from left to right. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our little Mini Cooper, and it's going to be in the no tech column. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button, and I'm going to drag it and drop it on the technician I want to work on it, and in the order I want him to work on it. So this is my number one priority, so I'm going to release it in that number one spot. When I come over here, it's automatically going to default all the repair orders or labor lines to the default technician. And if you have to assign it to different technicians, you can split them up here if you so choose. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and just leave it at the default. Anything with the pink check mark on it should be deemed ready, willing, and approved for the technician to work on. So I'm going to click apply. and I'm going to let it go to technician. And what I'd like you to do is dispatch to your technician and using the same way, shape, and form, and then respond to the poll. So what should have happened for you is they should have got an audible alert, and if you'll respond to the poll and let me know how you did, you will see how you've done on your first test. The good thing is that when you dispatch to the technician, if they're on the tool truck or in the restroom, if they're away from the tablet, when they come back to their tablet, they're going to have a nice message popped up in the center here letting them know what happened while they're out and about. So in this case, I'm just going to tap it and dismiss it. The next thing we want to do is we actually want to cover the profile picture, which is a very important picture, because this is a picture that's going to be used across multiple visits. So in this case, you can see that there is no profile picture. So here, there's no picture here showing the customer it's their own vehicle. And you can also see that red bar that I was telling you about where you could select vehicle information. So in this case, I'm just going to tap on that red bar. I'm going to do a good job as far as a technician. I'm going to mark this as an automatic transmission because that's what it is. And you can see that's cleared. The next thing I want to do is I want to take that profile picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the camera icon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a snapshot of the picture or of the vehicle. Let it focus real good. And I'm going to let it come back and let it swap out. So the profile picture being it's going to be used across multiple visits, we want to make sure that we take a picture that is representative of the customer's own vehicle. And my preference is to make sure that profile picture also has maybe the building and the signage for the shop in the background to create that subliminal message, so that way we can make sure that the customer knows that it's their vehicle and it wants to come back to the shop for all its visits. So what I'm going to do is actually move over just a little bit farther, get my tablet out of the way, and I'm going to let you take your own profile picture so that way you get used to using it. So let me get one up here on the screen that you can use. And take about 30 seconds or so, snap that profile picture, and then we'll move along. Great, that should be enough time. The next thing we want to do is we want to talk about the different ways to open an inspection sheet on the tablet. And to do that, there's 3 different ways. The first one is to open the default inspection for your shop. So in this case, this obviously must be a brake shop because their default inspection is a brake inspection. The second way is to use the drop-down box on the tablet to select any of the different inspections that are configured for your shop. And the third way, which I like the most, is to use the ultimate or special markers to set up a box right on the labor line that a technician could just tap and open the required inspection. As you begin using more different inspections like HVAC inspections and electrical system inspections, ABS inspections, and so on, this will be more important to you, and you can explore that using the ultimate markers. So what we're going to do next is we're going to open an inspection and begin creating our mock inspection. So I'm going to drag a tablet over here. Actually, let's go ahead and get our test shop back open here. So again, to always understand what's going on, we want the service writer to get instant feedback as they go through and do things. So what I'm going to do before I open this tablet is I'm going to draw your attention here that you can see that there's no activity, and I'm going to tap on this open vehicle to open it up. And again, we've already talked about one hot spot here and another one here, and also the odometer here. So the favorite way of opening them is to click where it says open vehicle. So I'm going to tap it and open it up. And now when you open it up, what you're going to see on the today's vehicle page for the service writer is you're going to see the repair order has been opened, and you're going to see this nice green bar here. So Green, red, and yellow is just like a traffic signal, and when a service writer can see the green, yellow, red, they know that green means we're all making money, yellow means we're getting close to not being profitable, and red means we better do something about it. You can also see that the technician's got the right repair order open because this little yellow clipboard in the lower edge of the tile lets the service writer know that the technician is actually working on all the vehicles on his tablet from left to right. On the tablet, what you're going to see is the actual work order. And if you take your finger and drag down through it, you'll be able to see all the labor operations that are on this particular repair order. And other information the technician is going to have on his tablet is going to be service history. So when I tap on that tab, you'll see it's changed over to service history. So if this vehicle had been here before, you could see all the information about it. You're going to see the OEM recommendations based on mileage, where a technician can actually tap it and actually add them to the bottom of the inspection sheet. You're going to see recommended jobs from prior service visits and have the ability to do recalls and TSBs. So in this case, I'm going to go back to worksheet. And what I'm going to do in this case is, because your shop is probably set up as such, I'm going to have you tap the default inspection for your shop, and we're going to start doing our default or our demo inspection. So the nice thing about this is all inspections are broke down into nice usable chunks. So exterior, under hood, mid-rise, and under vehicle. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and just mark a few topics good and then go through and use some of the tools here. So in my case, I'm just going to grab a bunch of topics and just tap on the topic name itself. And you can see every time I tap on a topic name, it's going to mark it no issues and I can go on. I'm going to tap under hood in this particular instance, and I'm going to choose a topic or two that has got an issue on it. You can see here some of them that have a red camera on it are actually marked where photos and notes are required, and we've got some here that are actually ready to input some data. So all these icons have different meanings, and we'll explore them as we go on. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and on the serpentine belt, I'm actually going to tap on it that it's got a problem. So I'm going to tap where it says select condition instead. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the serpentine belt is fraying. And I'm going to tap off to the side. And you're going to see that it's automatically marked it as a fail. So now I'm going to tap where it says select action. And I'm going to say what I want to do about it. So in this case, what I want to do is replace the serpentine belt. And then I'm going to tap off the side. Anything that requires any type of repair in any way, shape, or form, we want to make sure we document it with a picture or video or so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to snap a picture. And what I'm going to do is take a picture of something I got in my office here. So I'm going to grab that, and now I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to start using some of the tools that a technician has at their disposal to use in the same way they'd educate a customer in the shop. So that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on this red arrow and turn it on. And then on that red arrow, you're going to see that it's got some tools on it that we can go ahead and use. So first thing I'm going to do is touch on the one end of it, and I'm going to drag it over to right exactly where I want to point to. And then I'm going to touch on the other end, and I'm going to use that to go ahead and move the orientation of it. So again, this red arrow would be the same equivalent as if a technician was taking their finger or a pencil or a laser pointer at the side of the car and showing the customer exactly what they're trying to draw their attention to. The next thing I'm going to do is go down to the bottom, and I'm going to tap on this little notepad, and I'm going to describe what I'm trying to show. Same as what the technician would be doing in the bay if a customer was in the bay. In this case, what I'm also going to do is start using the power of the tool by using the voice to text. So I'm going to tap on a microphone, and then I'm going to talk like a robot. The red arrow is pointing right directly to the surface of the belt, where you can see that the edge is frayed. and then I'm going to press upload. So these are tools that we have to work with on the tablet. And again, what we want to do is make sure that the service writer and technician begin working together as a team to use these tools to educate the customer. The next thing I want to do is I want to point to this note field here, and I'm going to tap on it. And when I tap on it now, you're going to see that there's a couple things going on. One is there's a little camera icon with a number count. So I'm going to press that, and what it's going to do is open up, and it's going to show me the pictures I've taken. And the good thing is I can also see the topic that I've taken the picture at and the notes right there on the top of the picture. So a great way to think about this doing if you've taken some freeze frame data, screenshots, lab scope waveforms, pre-alignment specs, and so on, this is a great place where the technician can go back and find that information. In the note area here, you can see that it's broke down into internal and external notes. So an internal note, what we want to do is supply the service writer with what they need to do their job. So I'm going to tap in that area. I'm going to tap on the microphone again. This vehicle needs to have the serpentine belt replaced, period. It's frayed on the edges. New paragraph. Serpentine belt. Has 130 amp alternator. New paragraph. Estimated labor time, 1.2 hours. So that's really all of the service writer needs to do their job, and it's all protected from the customer, and it says for shop eyes only. What the customer needs to know is, and again, I'm going to tap the microphone. This belt is fraying, needs to be replaced. It will derail soon and cause you to be stranded. And I'm going to press OK. So again, what we want to do is while we're creating our test topic here, mark some topics good, no issues, and make sure you've got pictures on a minimum of 2 topics. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one other topic here. I'm going to say protection level fails. I'm going to tap my action, what I want to do about it. Cooling system fluid exchange. I'm going to see if I can find a picture that I can take. Maybe I've got one here. We'll just grab this one and pretend it's the cooling system. Put a note here. Level is low and protection level is below the recommended freeze point. And upload. So if you would, I'm going to give you approximately 4 minutes to create an inspection topic or your mock inspection sheet, and then we'll move on. And while you're working on that, I'm going to get my tablet out of the way. What we want to do next is be able to submit the inspection results to the service advisor and let the technician continue working on the vehicle. And to do that, what we're going to do is mark the job complete, and then we're going to use the Smart Chat bubble to submit it to the service advisor. So let's switch back over to Live Shop and see how this works. And bring my tablet back up. And again, while the technician has been working along, you can see this timer has been incrementing, and you can see this bar coming across, and you can see the technician still working away. So we want to submit this to the service advisor. So what we want to do is we want to tap where it says worksheet and change back to the worksheet. We're going to pretend the inspection is completely done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tap and mark the inspection sheet 100% complete. And then what I'm going to do is tap the Smart Chat bubble that's right over the top of it. And before I do, I want to make sure you draw your eyes' attention to this area up on the top. And so now the technician can still go about his job working on his vehicle. He submitted this to the service advisors so they can go about and do their job. So as soon as the technician submitted the inspection results using the Smart Chat, what's happened is the service writer gets a message to the top of today's vehicle page, and that message has got a nice link that they can click on and open the repair order. So in this case, you can see that the Smart Chat bubble was used to submit from the labor line for the inspection topic. When an inspection comes in from the technician, the first thing a service writer should do is go ahead and click on the inspection results and look it over and make sure that everything complies with how that the shop policy is for doing inspections. So in this case, we're going to pretend that it doesn't comply, and what we're going to do is say, well, what you're going to do is send it back to the technician, and to do that, you're going to click Reassign Inspection, and you're going to click OK and put it right back on their tablet. I also want to highly encourage you that if you send it back to the technician, don't ever send it back to him without letting him know what needs to be done. And to do that, what you're going to do is click on this bar, click on the chat bubble, and you're going to send them a message letting them know what needs to be done. So in this case, we're going to say it needs tread images. So we'll say the technician forgot and then press send. So don't send it back to the technician without giving them some type of expectation as far as what needs to be done. On the technician's tablet initially, if they got it open, they'll see it flashing. And then if they're not paying attention, if they're working on something else, they'll soon hear an audible alert. And in this case, I'm just going to dismiss that audible alert. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look over the inspection results that were sent. And what we want to do is say in this case, everything's in good shape. What we want to do is we want to move the repair order to the lock step. And that is where it's creating estimates so nothing goes to the technician as it gets added to the management system. So in this case, what I've done is lock this so that way nothing goes to the technician. And what I'd like you to do is respond to the poll and let me know that you've locked yours also. Okay, so let's move along here. So this is the inspection results as they come in. And what I want to do now is I want to come in here and look at the topics and make sure I get all my editing done. So in this case, I could see there's a lot of good information has been done here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on any of the photos and I'm going to start my journey as far as editing. So in this case, this picture is actually turned off where it's not going to show to the customer. I can see that I've got my internal notes and customer notes. And this particular note here is actually made for customer view, but I'm not going to turn this one on. I'm going to move over one. And now this is the picture that I really want to show to customer. Technician's done a really great job of putting the arrow on it just exactly where it goes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look, he's done a great job on a customer note. Let's approve that sucker. You know, this is fit for the customer to see. If I have to do any editing, as soon as I click approved, then I can get my editing done. And on the customer notes that are part of the picture itself, I can look at it again. They've done a really great job on it, and I can approve it, and I'm ready to go. You can see that this is all done at the belt topic here. And now what I'm going to do is press the over arrow. I'm going to move on to the next one. I can see this is now moved to the next topic. I've got a nice picture there. It's turned off where the customer is not going to see it. And I'm going to move on to the next one, and I'm going to say, yep, he's done a great job here, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it approved. I might put a little bit more reinforcement here. I might come in here and use one of the tools, like maybe a crop, to actually, you know, get it dialed in a lot closer for them to work on. I might come in here and add a another circle around the area to actually draw a little bit more emphasis on it. And again, when you're going through and doing your mock inspection, come in here and just grab some of the tools and use them just to get a chance to see how they work. I might also want to go ahead and while you're experimenting, experiment with changing the colors on them and so on. So in this case, I'm going to leave that red, but I'm going to add another arrow to it, and I'm going to make it a different color just because I can. So again, experiment a little as you go on. You'll see these number counts change as they go through here. I'm going to click apply, and I'm going to go, and if there's nothing else I need to do, I'm going to press close, and I've got all my editing done at this time. The next thing I'm going to do, depending on what management system on it, I might go ahead and press the work order update button and send the information, the service packages or labor codes that have been in here, canned jobs, send it over to management system so I can actually estimate. So after we've done all our editing and moved it over and we build a good estimate, anything that the technician recommends on the inspection should be estimated by the service writer and be ready to present to the customer. And when I say anything the technician recommends, I mean recommend and supported by proper documentation. So if that proper documentation is some text, a picture, circle, arrow, or whatever, if it's supported by proper documentation, it needs to be estimated by the service advisor. After they estimate it, then they're going to move it over to a workflow step that's waiting for approval. And what's going to happen is they're going to have this little icon pop up here that's going to have the little clock in it. And when 20 minutes goes by, they're going to be able to see a little phone pop up on the screen. So what we're going to do next is move back over to Live Shop, and we're going to send it to the customer. And I guess before we go that far, what I'd like you to do is spend just a few minutes and edit some pictures on your own. So use some circles and arrows, get them on the screen, and let's make the inspection results impactful enough to the customer that they're ready to start talking about options and pricing. Authorization through education is the tools that we want to do, and we want to put that customer in a position to buy rather than feeling like they have to defend themselves from being sold to. The next thing we want to do is we want to move over to Live Shop and actually send the results to the customer simply by moving it over to the approval step, and that's what we're going to do next. So let's move back to a Live Shop. And now what I'm going to do, because the estimate's already completely done, we're going to move it over to waiting for approval. And then when we click OK, what it's going to do is let us look over the inspection results and be able to make sure they're in great shape before the customer actually sees them. And then the only thing we have to do to send it to the customer is just press OK. So what I'd like you to do is move it over to waiting for approval and send the results to yourself. So what I want you to do is see that the link here where the customer can go ahead and actually adjust their communication settings. They can move these sliders on and off and press submit and configure these exactly the way they want to. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to get the inspection results, and let's take a look and see how we did. So in this case, we can see the inspection results, the service writer, technician, see all the things that are good. We can see things that have a picture on it. We can tap on that picture, make sure the customer understands that they can go ahead and click on it, and they'll be able to see exactly what that picture means to them along with the text and be able to zoom in on it. And if we've done our job, we'll also have some informational videos that show them exactly what's going on their vehicle. So again, let me know with the poll that the inspection results came to you on your device. So you can see this number that's right above here that's been incrementing as I've been looking over the inspection results. You can see this number counting up. And what we want to do is we want to get in a position where the service writer lets this number count up until it doesn't count up any higher. And if 20 minutes elapses from the time that you've sent the results to him, that's when you're going to get this nice little phone pop up on here. The way I like to use this phone is if you click on the phone, it's going to pop up and show you the customer's number. If you call it and you don't get a live human, press cancel and just leave the phone on it. If you call it and you get a live human, then what we want to do is we want to come over here and click OK. And what you're going to see is a nice check mark on there, and it's going to move back over here the way you'd expect. At this particular point in time, we should see waiting for approval on here. The next thing we want to do is after work has been approved, then what we want to do is we want to come down here and we want to mark it waiting for work finished. Click OK. It's again going to verify that all these jobs that are added on here are what we want the technician to actually do. What we're going to be able to do is watch the technician mark the jobs done on his tablet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tablet. I'm going to mark a few jobs done. Stretch this out a little bit bigger so you can see. And as I'm marking jobs done, what I'd like you to do is watch these numbers here change. So I'm going to mark my oil and filter lube 100% done. I'm going to mark my scan computerized controls 100% done. You're going to see now that everything is come back through here and is marked completely done. You can see on the tablet it said all the jobs are complete. And you got this nice green check mark. And again, we want to look on the top here to make sure that there's nothing else that needs to be done. After work is finished, the technician is going to do his final submit. He's going to put his out mileage if you're set up to require that. You're going to mark all work complete and press OK. And at that time, it's going to be gone off of his tablet. And so let me get this out of the way. The next step for the service advisor is to come over here, open it up, make sure everything is marked complete by the technician. It's got them nice black dots on it. Do whatever kind of updating they need to get everything into the management system. If they've got to update any parts prices, they can go ahead and click the work order update button to go ahead and bring back all the clock time and job assignments in Protractor, bring it back into the management system. Then they're going to move it over to waiting for pickup. It's going to open one last window, let the service writer see and prepare the next service reminder before it ever goes to the customer. We didn't do these two jobs, so the pictures and so on are going to be repurposed. They can click on the bell icon and see what the next reminder is going to look like that's going to go to the customer before it ever goes out to them for the reminder date. And you can see that's got the customer's profile picture on it. Here's the serpentine belt on it. Here's the information with pictures. They can learn more about it, again, by clicking on this. They can come through here and they can say on the next visit, I would like to discuss my options, or maybe later. So again, this is a great way to do a quick check on what that reminder is going to look like. And then they'll go ahead and press close. The repair order is going to disappear off the today's vehicle technician view, and it's going to be available in the workflow view. And again, bear in mind that we want to be able to use both of these views separately, and we don't want to wait for any page reload. So having them both open where you can toggle back and forth between them real quickly is a great tool to have. So let's follow up what we're finishing up here. What we want to do is make sure that we understand going forward is to get everybody to start working together as a team in the shop environment. We know that in a lot of shops, technicians don't get paid to do inspections, but they do get paid by doing the work that the inspection produces. And again, by working together, we want to make sure that the techs and service writers start working together as a team. The technicians starting the process by doing a good inspection, putting the red arrow on it, which is their digital finger, putting some notes on it and so on, and giving that service writer some great content to not only have great documentation so that the way estimate everything, but also be able to send it to the customer. There's no reason for the technician to over or under recommend, because if the process is every vehicle gets inspected, everything the technician prescribes and documents the need should be estimated and presented to the customer. And if it doesn't get approved today, it's no big deal because we're going to be repurposing the inspection content on the next reminder that goes to the customer. The technicians are now in control of their own destiny by working together with the service advisor to put the customer in a position of authorization through education, moving that customer where they're in the mood to buy rather than feeling like they have to defend themselves from a high pressure sales. Anytime we can give the customer the ability to make educated buying decisions based on the content we send them, that's a great place to be in. Let the technicians witness the way you're doing this at the counter with a customer if you can. If not, maybe send these inspection results to their own device, let them take a look at it. Or maybe in a shop meeting, open up some inspection results and let your team criticize each other's work in a positive manner on what can we do better with these pictures, circles, and arrows, and so on to make this more educational to the customer in terms the customer could understand, not in technician lingo. So these are some exercises for you to do to go back when you go back to your shop and start working with your staff. As the implementer, your job is to learn today and then immediately start training your staff, and that'll be some great reinforcement for you. We want to make sure that everybody knows that using the internal chat communication is the #1 way to save time, so that way there is no wasted time and there's great documentation. And again, you can see that yellow arrow on it, or a yellow area in the highlight here, and that is telling the service writer exactly where the part needs to be added or the adjustment needs to be made so they don't have to read the entire repair order. Basically just tapping on the smart chat icon right on the labor line that the change needs to be made is going to highlight it in bright yellow for the service advisor. So what we also want to do is make sure that we know that you feel empowered to go ahead and train your staff. And what we also want to do is make sure that you know that there's a tool out there called the Business Control Panel. And I'm going to give you a brief overview or look of it. And what I want you to do is just understand where it is and how to find it, so that way you can get with your product advisor and start using it. So to find it, what I'm going to have you do is go over to the hamburger menu, left click on it. Go down to where it says BCP, Shop Meeting, and click on it. And what you're going to do is open up the Business Control Panel. And the Business Control Panel is a great tool because unlike reports that we had in the past, a traditional dashboard where you had to first look at it and then start doing some detective work to find out what's going on, what we do is put behaviors in a graphical format so that way you can understand everything that's going on. When you first start with your product advisor or / digital coach, they're going to help you set some thresholds here that you can actually design for your shop to make sure everybody's trending in the right direction. And then they're going to go into an area we call primary, where we know every shop has to have a average repair order dollar amount that's decent, new customers, and retention rate, and so on. And let's go over to a live shop so we can look at how this works. Here I'm going to go ahead and click on ARO, and I'm going to come through and just show you a graph the way it's set up. And here what we can do is we can see different behaviors. So I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to choose edited picture rate. And what it's going to do is give me the ability to filter bound by the individual employees so I can see who my superstars are and maybe see who might be struggling a little bit. Again, everything's about goals and accountability, and you'll be able to assign tasks to your individual employees to make sure that we can all trend in the right direction. So if you would respond to the poll and let me know that you at least know that the Business Control Panel exists and you look forward to getting with your product advisor / digital coach to use it in your shop. So all of you by now should feel empowered to go back to your shop and train your staff on the items that we just covered today. We'd also like to encourage you to don't waste any time doing it. The best way to learn is like you did today, learn, do it with your own fingers, and then go back to the shop and start putting these things in place. We also want to know is that after your foundation is built and nice and solid, so if you're doing inspection rate over 60% as an example, you're taking pictures, you're editing them, and you're getting them sent to the customer, Then our product advisor or digital coach is going to move you into the next training after your foundation is strong, called Impactful Pictures. And what that is about making the inspection results in general so impactful to the customer that they can get all the education they need from the content that you send them. They don't have to go looking for it anywhere else. And then they're going to call the shop and they'll be ready to talk about options and pricing. So this is the next level training that you'll be going to after you master the first levels. I'd like to encourage you that if you don't already belong to it, to sign up and join the Digital Shop Talk Forum. This is a place that's got over 3,200 people just like you, and they're there to help each other out, ask and answer questions. So I'd like to encourage you, first of all, to search. If the topic that you have of how do I do this or that isn't in there, I encourage you to ask that question. We don't allow topics that are things that are what you would perceive a problem with either the today's vehicle page or the tablet. What we want you to do is use the help button to do that. And there's a help button, a yellowish orange help button on today's vehicle page on a work order pop-up. There's a little triangle on the technician's tablet that they can submit a help ticket from there. Or in the business control panel, there's a nice blue question mark. And these are all areas that you can submit questions or help requests from. Again, the reason why we don't put these type questions on the Facebook forum is that we capture a lot of information just like you would if a check engine light comes on a car. There's freeze frame data. Well, we capture the same information from the today's vehicle page or the tablet, so that way we can get to the root cause of the problem quickly and efficiently without a lot of back and forth between the shop. I'd like to thank you for attending today. I'm going to be putting some links in the chat before I'm done. One of them is going to be for the smart markers. Another one is going to be for the technician tablet training video. I highly encourage the service advisors to go through and view that. So it's not just for the technicians. It's good to understand what the technician can do with the tablet. A digital standard operating procedure. And the last one I'm going to put in there is a link to this recording so that you can go back and play through any parts that you need to get up to date on. Maybe we went through a little bit fast. You can go to and find that section and press pause and play and get some reinforcement. And again, as you have new employees come on, these recordings are a very valuable tool to use for sure. So once again, thanks for coming. I'll be hanging on the line for another 2 minutes. And if I don't see any other questions come in, I'd like to thank everybody and wish you a great day and go make some money.